Well, this is a show you get to roast us in the comments section. As long as you like and subscribe, do what you got to do. It's Nick Alberga and Rory Boylen about to fill out our brackets right for you at the Golden Muzzy at Rory Boylen. Rory, are you ready for this and the ridicule that comes with it?
Oh, absolutely. That's what it's all about at this time of year, right? We'll delete this video after we start getting some of these wrong.
Roast us, please. Give it to us. We'll start in the North Division, Rory. Number 1, Toronto against number 4, Montreal, and number 2, Edmonton against number 3, Winnipeg.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Toronto and Edmonton out of these two series. I mean, Toronto, honestly, I can see a path for the Habs. It's just such a long shot, right? Carey Price's playoff performances the last 4 times he's been here have been much better than what he's shown in the regular season. There's some call to be made on if he's going to play. I think he's going to play game 1. I would be surprised if he didn't, but he's got a concussion again. So that's going to be something to monitor. Jake Allen, of course, has been a great backup for him, probably the better of the 2 goalies in the regular season. The Habs have to capture some of the magic that they had at the front of this season. I just don't see that happening against a Leafs team that is so much better defensively than they have been, and that's been the biggest change for them. And Edmonton has just owned Winnipeg all season, and I know that doesn't always mean that's going to carry over to the playoffs, but the Jets are coming in extremely cold. I think this is a team that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are going to be able to exploit the defense on as often as they want. Connor Hellebuyck is going to have to steal this series if it's going to happen, and I don't see it happening. I've got both of these series ending in 5 games.
I'm going to go with against the grain on that Edmonton-Winnipeg series. I have Winnipeg in 7 games. I'm right there with you. I think Nikolai Ehlers, is the big wild card going into that series if he can play. It's probably much closer. I think, honestly, it's a series of Connor, whether it be Hellebuyck or Connor McDavid or Kyle Connor, I'll throw into that conversation. All have to be vital for their team's success, but I'm calling, I guess, an upset because like 2 months ago it wasn't an upset, but I got Winnipeg in 7. And I just don't think Montreal has the offense to compete with Toronto. I think ultimately they'll make it a very strong series and a good series, but I think Toronto wins that series in 6 games. So we're going to roll on here to the East Division. Number 1, Pittsburgh against some team named the New York Islanders at number 4. And of course, the Washington Capitals, number 2. And the Boston Bruins at number 3. The old Zdeno Chara revenge series. I can't wait for that one, Rory.
That's going to be awesome. I mean, that storyline in that series is going to be something to watch. So the teams that I've got coming out of here, I'm picking Pittsburgh over the New York Islanders. It was tough for me to do because I've been thinking all year that I wanted to pick the Islanders to do something again in these playoffs, but they just haven't been playing their best hockey recently. I know offense isn't their biggest strength, but it's been very bad since the trade deadline, since Anders Lee went down, basically.
Yep.
Pittsburgh is coming in really hot. Their trade deadline pickup in Jeff Carter has worked out so well. They've been the best team in the NHL for a while here now, going back to the turnaround in February. And so you've got a team coming in hot versus a team coming in a little cold. And so I've got to go with the Pittsburgh team who, they can't be wasting these shots anymore where they're in such a good position. You don't know how many quality runs they have left with Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. This is the best they've been situated since they won the Cup last a few years ago. I've got that series going 6 games for the Penguins. I think New York's defense inevitably is going to give them a tougher time than maybe it seems like, and they'll be able to squeeze out a win or 2. Boston and Washington, I'm going to go with Boston here. I'm going with Boston in 6. I'm worried about Washington's situation in net. And I think now that Boston has 2 lines that they can throw at you and score, as long as Taylor Hall and David Krejci keep their chemistry going, the defense is good enough. Tuukka Rask is back and playing really, really well, 7-1-0 in his last 8. Everything seems to be going up Boston's alley right now, where there are some bigger questions around the Caps, so I'm picking the Bruins.
Yeah, it's funny. That seems to be the consensus that, Washington could be the favorite in that series. Everybody's picking Boston for all the reasons you just mentioned. Maybe there's a rallying cry with Zdeno Chara in that room and the fact that he's playing his former team, maybe. But I'm right there with you. I love the pickup of Taylor Hall. Just adding the support there to the perfection line, I think, is massive. I still wonder about Boston's back end, but you mentioned it with Tuukka Rask, and you still have like Yaroslav Halak in your 3-hole. Like, they have depth in between the pipes, and to me, goaltending is key for any team in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I've got some serious questions with Washington's, right? Whether it be Samsonov or Vitek Vanacek. So give me the Boston Bruins in that series. And much to the chagrin of Isles Nation, I have to go with Pittsburgh. And I use this a lot, but Pittsburgh just feels like a team of destiny. And maybe I'm just trying to too much lineage to Jeff Carter a decade ago when he was acquired by the Los Angeles Kings and goes on to win the Stanley Cup. But there's something different in terms of feel with that Pittsburgh team. And I'm just wondering, like, is Crosby still going to Colorado in the offseason, Roy? Don't answer that.
No.
I just was thinking about that the other day. The West Division. I don't know where you stand, and we'll find out in mere moments, but my cup winners coming out of this division. We have Colorado 1, St. Louis 4, Vegas 2, Minnesota 3. I'm still disappointed we were robbed of the Alex Pietrangelo revenge series.
Yeah, really, that's a good one. Vegas really should have won the President's Trophy. They got into some cap issues, had to dress a short bench. That loss against Colorado on Monday really was the turning point for them. Yeah. And honestly, it makes Vegas's path a little bit harder because this round one matchup with Minnesota is not what they wanted. They have a losing record against the Wild this season, and so it's just going to be a tougher way out for them. That said, I'm picking Vegas in this series anyway. I think this is the series that people are going to look for. Everybody's always going to be looking for these upsets, right? And this is the one that on paper maybe is the one. I think it's going to be a mirage. I think the Golden Knights are going to come back. I mean, you're not worried about the cap limiting your bench anymore. That's not a consideration. You can dress whoever the heck you want. I mean, they have 2 number 1 goalies. They have an awesome defense. The only question really is whether or not Max Pacioretty returns and is able to start game 1 and how much he's able to play. For the first time ever, he had a better than point per game season and is vital to this team. That said, Vegas's strength is its depth, right? So I think they should be able to handle at least a short time without Pacioretty if that happens. And I think just the depth that they have, the experience that they have. Vegas has won more playoff series in their 3 postseasons than the Wild have in their history as a franchise. I think that this team is going to find a way to get through. I just don't think Minnesota is quite there yet. They've overachieved some of their underlying numbers. I have some questions about their goaltending. They've allowed 3 goals or more in each of their last 10 games, which is not something you want going into the playoffs when defense starts to become a little bit more of the focus. So I'm going with Vegas in 6 games here. I think Minnesota can still pull out a couple of wins. On the other one, St. Louis is the team to me that could surprise you. Jordan Binnington has been playing pretty well lately. We know that they've got playoff pedigree. They've been playing somewhat better recently, but really only had to stay ahead of a really struggling Arizona team down the stretch. So they weren't playing like the Nashville Predators or something like that at that level. Colorado is way too good, honestly, and I think they're going to just roll over the St. Louis Blues. I don't see it coming together for St. Louis. I've got Colorado moving on in 5.
Yeah, I'm calling it Steamroll City for both these series, quite frankly. I think Kirill Kaprizov is going to find out quickly that the Stanley Cup playoffs are not the regular season. I'm trying to be careful and avoiding being sucked in at the end when all these teams start winning hockey games and playing teams that are probably below them in the standings and making the playoffs. I'm taking nothing away from Minnesota. I just don't put them on a level with Vegas or, say, Colorado. So I think highly, clearly, of those 2 teams in Colorado and Vegas, and I really want to see that series because it was unfortunate we didn't get in the bubble. So I would say 5 games for both those series as we roll on here, Rory. To the Central Division, my fascination with this division, specifically the first time ever, the Battle of Florida at the 2-3. Florida's got home ice advantage in that series. And Carolina and the Nashville Predators 1-4. I'll go first here. I like Carolina in a sweep. I'm just crazy about that team. In fact, they're in my Final 4. I don't look at Nashville seriously. I'm sorry to say that. So give me the Canes in a sweep in that one. And I don't know about you, and you're wearing a cat shirt, which I'm pretty sure you're about to show everybody, regardless. But this was a pick 'em for me. I like Tampa a lot. It's one thing to get Kucherov and Stamkos back. It's another thing for these guys to get back up to snuff and play the way we've seen in the past. And I think Florida's going to make this a ball game, but it's just tough for me to pick against the Stanley Cup champion. So I'm going to go with Tampa in 7 games, Ray. What do you have?
Well, I'm mildly surprised that you're downplaying the Predators as much as you are, but I'm doing the same thing. I'm picking Carolina in a sweep. Honestly, they're just too good, and I think they're going to roll over the Predators. That's more of how much I feel about the Carolina Hurricanes than what I feel about the Nashville Predators. Yeah. They had an awesome finish, right? But this is a buzzsaw team in Carolina, and yeah, I'm going with Florida.
Oh, baby.
Wow. Look, like this is a tough one. Like I thought all along, I'm going to be picking Florida to come out of round 1. they have improved so much on the defensive side, but now you draw Tampa, and this is just it's such a deflating feeling because this is going to be a tough. I have this going 7 games as well. It's going to be really, really difficult. The offense is one thing; it's going really well for Florida, but now you're running up against Andrei Vasilevsky and a pretty good Tampa Bay defense too. I also have questions about, how well Nikita Kucherov is going to come back and Steven Stamkos. I think it should be fine, and that's going to be the ultimate challenge. And for Florida, it's still not clear who is starting game 1 for this team. It's got to be Driedger to me. I still wonder if they're going to go with Bobrovsky. I kind of think they will. I wonder what that leash is going to be. And then if you fall behind the Tampa Bay Lightning, it's going to be really, really hard to come back. So this is my upset pick, even though Florida is the 2 seed here. I'm considering this my upset pick, going with Florida because this is the best team they have put on the ice since 1996. You might be even able to say this is better than the 1996 team.
They got depth.
They got depth. They got scoring. At least they have 3 goaltenders. It's just they have to find the right one. You wonder in the long run if losing Aaron Ekblad is going to come back to bite them. But just because this is the best Panthers team, they can play physical. They're harder to play against any Panthers team in recent memory too, which should translate to the playoffs against Tampa Bay. Some great games to finish the season between these two. Going to be tight. I have to go with the Florida Panthers here.
Fair enough. You might want to change your pick considering Joe Quenneville sort of tipped his hand on Friday, pretty much intimating that it's going to be your boy, Sergei Bobrovsky. Congratulations with that. Take the over in that hockey game. Although, important note for you gamblers out there, Columbus beat Tampa 2 years ago in a sweep, and it was Sergei Bobrovsky, the netminder for Columbus. So some food for thought. As we head into the second round, again, we'll start in the North Division. So, Rory, I have Toronto 1 against Winnipeg 3. Of course, I picked the Jets in the upset. I have Toronto rolling on here. I think it's going to be a spirited series. I think Winnipeg gives them a run for their money. I love the depth of the middle, and I think if there's one team who could match up with Toronto up front and clearly in between the pipes, I give the upper hand to Connor Hellebuck. It's the Jets, but I have the Maple Leafs winning that series. What do you have?
So I got Toronto at Edmonton in my round too, and I could see that being a really good long series as well. Both teams improved defensively. I mean, Edmonton's going to go as far as Mike Smith takes them, right? I mean, this is 2012 Mike Smith, 2012 Dave Tippett. They got that Arizona Coyotes team, really pesky team, to the Western Conference Final. These Oilers have McDavid and Draisaitl, who are going to be able to, get through a lot of this. I think this would be an awesome series to see McDavid and Matthews and all this talent go up against each other. I'm still giving the edge to the Toronto Maple Leafs here because it's all just seemingly coming together for them. As long as that goaltending holds up, this is their best path to the semifinals in years, and so they have to take it, and I've got to pick them.
And again, a reminder to everybody, fade me. I'm always wrong when it comes to selections, but I'm just doing my job. I don't want to get fined, of course. I got Pittsburgh and Boston in the East Division. I sort of shed some light earlier. I believe in Pittsburgh. I think they sort of feel like a team of destiny, and I just don't want to piss off Berkey either. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. What do you got there?
I got Boston over Pittsburgh here. I mean, I feel you on Pittsburgh being a team of destiny maybe, but yeah, the Bruins they always seem to come through in the playoffs. They always seem to be hard to play against in the playoffs. Win one for Taylor is going to be a thing. And again, they have goaltending depth where I'm still not certain that Tristan Jarry is going to be the guy to get the Penguins through here. But again, this should be a really good series. I'm just going to go with the Bruins.
I like cool narratives, so we'll disagree on that. But I like Boston a lot, I'll be honest. I like their second line quite a bit. Contractor, David Krejci, give me some. So you can't go wrong with that selection. The West Division, it's unfortunate that I think, and we both agree, Vegas and Colorado will collide in round 2, but that's just the nature of the ball game we live in right now. Give me Vegas, but it has to be 7 games. I think these teams are really, really close, and I hope we get that series right.
This is the series above any other. I want to see this series. I really hope it happens. And it is unfortunate that it has to happen in round 2, but that makes it more likely that it's going to happen than if we have to wait round 3, right?
Yeah,
so this was a toss-up for me, but I'm going to go with the Colorado Avalanche here. I think they have some sneaky depth up front too. I mean, we all know about Vegas's, but I think Colorado is better there. That the point differential between Nathan McKinnon and the rest of the team has narrowed this year from where it was last season, and their defense is really underrated from 1 through 6. Like, there's a lot of talent, a lot of guys who can do damage at both ends of the ice there. As long as Philip Grubauer stays healthy, I think he even might be the best goalie in this series, although that's a bit of a toss-up. But I have to take Colorado in a 7-game series here to get through.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that. Not to mention Bowen Byram's sort of an X factor too. He's been banged up for like the second half of the season. If sometime he can return, you just add continued depth to the back end for the Colorado Avalanche. But again, should be really, really close. Lastly here, to wrap up round 2, the Central Division, and I have Carolina 1 against Tampa 3 locking up. I'm a firm believer that it's difficult to repeat. Now, Pittsburgh was against that clearly a couple years ago and did it. Tampa's played a lot of hockey, and I think the one thing we do forget is they're trying to win a second cup in less than a year. That's almost impossible. Never say never, but in my world, it's almost impossible. I think they're going to fall short, whether it be in the first round here against Florida, or especially it has to be in round 2 against a really, really good Carolina Hurricanes team. We can't call them underrated anymore because they were one of the top teams in the league in the last couple months and in general in the standings. So give me Carolina to go to the Final Four, Rory.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay is playing with an injured Victor Hedman, and we'll see how much he can deal with that. I'm going with Carolina over Florida in my bracket. I just think they're the better team. Like, they have the experience. They've lost. This is the season that it seems like they get over the hump, because we've talked about it through the season that the number one area of concern with this team has always been the goaltending, and now it's pretty much solved. I mean, whether or not you feel rookie Alex Nedeljkovic is going to be able to carry that all the way through the playoffs, or Peter Mrazek is the guy and he's able to do it, I see it coming together for this team this year. I think they are destined to get out of this division. I have to pick them over the Florida Panthers. I don't even think it gets to 7 games. I think they can do it in less than that. Yeah.
Good night. Lots of rest for the conference finals at that, and the Final Four, Rory. So I have Toronto, Pittsburgh, Carolina, and Vegas. The way it worked out in my bracket, I believe, would be Pittsburgh, Carolina, and Toronto, Vegas. So I'm going to select Vegas. I'm going to take the Carolina Hurricanes and the Vegas Golden Knights to square off in the Stanley Cup final. And as I mentioned earlier, I like Vegas to win the Stanley Cup. How about you?
So my bracket, I got Colorado versus Boston in one side and Carolina versus Toronto. There's a revenge series.
Love that.
Potential for you. Look, Colorado is the team for me. Colorado gets through Boston for all the reasons we've mentioned before. And Toronto, I'm picking over Carolina.
Wow.
This was tough. I mean, Carolina is so good, but I see the Leafs. I mean, they've got the veteran experience. They've surrounded their elite talent with that. As I said, their team defense is so improved. I worry about their situation in net. I think like anybody is at this point, but they're going to have a lot of momentum and they're going to have a lot to play for here. They're not going to have the same sort of pressure, I don't think, in that the arena is not going to be full. Maybe they're not even playing in this city at this point, you know, but there is going to be pressure, of course. And I just think that veteran experience is going to help them push on through. I think their power play has got to get back on track. That's got to happen in these playoffs. I would be surprised if it didn't. I think they get through the Carolina Hurricanes, get to a Colorado-Toronto final. Ooh. But this is Colorado's year, man. I'm picking the Avalanche to win the cup.
You're feeling the Avs and not the Michael Hutchinson revenge story. I get it. Toronto's power play has been dismal. You're right. But there you have it. There's our brackets right there for you. Like and subscribe. Roast us. Do what you got to do. Rory, it's been a lot of fun doing our power rankings throughout this season. And can't wait for the Stanley Cup playoffs to begin, and can't wait to be entirely accurate on our selections here.
100%. It's going to be me 100%. We'll see how you do.
Yeah, the Panthers are done in 3 games. That's Rory Boylen. I'm Nick Alberga. Thanks so much for watching.